Welcome to Ask the Accountant, the podcast that is made for you. Weekly podcast live Mondays from 8:30 a.m., released on the podcast service of your choice on Wednesdays. Your main weekly hosts, Aaron, Patrick, and Johann. Got something to ask? Submit your questions below or ask during the show. Podcast loading. We are currently getting everything set up behind the scenes, so sit back, relax, and we will be with you in a few seconds. Enjoy.
Good morning and welcome to Ask the Accountant. Can I just say, Aaron, I love that tune. That intro, that's it. That's my week started. Energetic. I'm bopping along. I'm quite happy. Anyway, my name's Aaron.
We just need to make sure it says the right word, so because it says live, and we won't even mention how it says your last name. So we'll fix that one.
Most people get it. But yeah, anyway, welcome to Ask the Accountant, your weekly show giving you insights into the accounting industry. My name's Johann, and I'm here with my co-host, as always, Mr. Aaron Patrick. Aaron, how are you? How was your week? How was your weekend?
Very good, thank you. Very good. Yeah, we had a nice little chilled weekend because we had our Christmas do, but we won't talk about too much. We've got a question about that later down in the actual question bit. But yeah, we had our little Christmas. Well, I say do. Typical accountant. We didn't do the old Christmas Eve. We did something different. So a bit of a tease for later in the day. But yeah, it was a really good weekend, and I do miss Formula One though. It is what you kind of be a bit lost, aren't we, at times? But it's fine. It's fine. We'll get on with it. There's other stuff to do. What about you, Jan? How was your weekend?
Yeah, very good, thank you. As you say, missing a Formula One already, but the wife and I have got a strategy nowadays. So we've done it for the last couple of years where we use Now TV. So once the Formula One stopped, we scrap the sports package and activate the movies package. Not that we've sat and watched movies yet. We're currently working our way through The Good Doctor on Now TV.
Okay.
Doctor that's got autism. It's been very good. I think we're on halfway through season 2 now, if not season 3 actually. But yeah, it's been very good and something nice and easy to have on the background while you potter and do the housework as you do with all the adulting challenges that we face.
Yeah.
So yeah, very quiet weekend. Busy week last week though. Just people off on holiday, leaving me in, and obviously I was away the week before, so I actually had to do some work, which was traumatic. Not as much traumatic as it will be for the staff team to go and tidy up after me, but
you'll get your own back this week though. We'll talk about that, won't we?
That's it. Yeah. So So what are we talking about today, Aaron?
Well, today we're going to make our focus is on Accountancy Web Live. Make sure I get the name right for that one, because we are both going to be there, and one of us is working it as well. So another little tease on there. And also we're going to turn our attention to what kind of some of the major points is going to be within Accounting Web, which is going to be MTD as well. So we'll talk about that. And then while we're talking about MTD, we've got some other updates as well. So yeah, nice and jam-packed episode as ever. So it should be good. Should be a good one.
Completely, yeah. So, let's get the name of that show right. It's the Accounting Web Live Expo, which is, almost 30th of November to the 1st of December in Coventry, of all places. Not my favourite place to visit, if I'm honest. I'm not a big city fan. I prefer rural life, but he says living in Edinburgh. But I always think Edinburgh, York, very old school, very open green cities, so I like those, but Coventry is a bit more modern and a bit more claustrophobic in my view.
But in fairness, it's central though, isn't it? And it's the only one that's central, I would say. I mean, what else is there in the Birmingham area or Midlands area? There's not much, is there? So
no, you're completely right. Coventry is a very central location. It was quicker and easier for me to get to London from Edinburgh than it is to get to Coventry. It's central enough. It's easy enough to get to. Plenty of hotels and stuff, so you can't complain too much. So Accounting Web Live Expo this week. What are the benefits, Aaron, of us going to these things? Why do you and I spend our time going to these things? Because there's a lot of firm owners and employees, I think for that matter, that they always look at these things and go, what's the point? What's the value? Is it worth me going? Probably not. And yet people like you and I sit here raving about these things, saying they're the highlights of the year. And our social diaries orientate around them. So why do you go?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be completely honest. I was one of those who was like, why bother? And it wasn't until just before COVID, that kind of year before COVID, that I got converted. And it is one of those things where you've just got to suck it and see it that first couple of times, because the first ones I went to, I kind of was wandering around by myself, sort of thing, not really knowing what to do or what to say, just looking at what things were going to happen during the day. But it is about that networking. You know, once you start to have that first conversation with the first vendor, and you'll start understanding, you know, what they're trying to do and everything else, and you start to understand the personalities behind those vendors. And then you have the opportunity to see people around the floor that you go, oh, actually, I've seen you on LinkedIn, or I've seen you on YouTube, or I've seen you on Insta, or whatever social platform you're using at the time. And then you approach them and you're like, oh, I really like your content, sort of thing. And then you start getting to talk to them. And what they'll do is they'll tell you, oh, make sure you go to see so-and-so and so-and-so. So it's just about building that network. And it seems obvious, doesn't it? Like, you're in a room full of accountants, so you should really be talking to other accountants. But I think you almost feel like pressured into not talking to them. Like, well, what could you gain from talking to each other? But it becomes that whole essence of just even talking about the geekiest of things, about what accounting software you use, or what bookkeeping software you use, or whatever it's going to be. Just starting off with those sort of conversations, and you start learning, actually, you know what, there's so much more I didn't know. You know, I've been doing it this way my whole time through a practice. So, you know, maybe you've been doing your ID checks by sending them to the post office forever, but then you realize that actually there's better ways out there, and there's people who are doing it much more efficiently. And then you talk to the accountants who are doing it, and not only do you get that opportunity to go, oh, actually, yeah, there's quicker and easier ways, but actually I can charge my clients for it, or I could build it into this price point. And the vendors can tell you one thing, the accountants can tell you another, and you can make an informed decision. And I feel that for me has been where the benefit is. And, you know, obviously it sounds cringy, but the whole after party scene as well is really beneficial. Like, I've learned more out of those after parties, and Ask the Accountant is here because of an after party. QuickBooks Labs is still going because of an after party. Like, again, we build those relationships, those networks that help us through our day-to-day work. And I think that becomes really important.
Definitely. Yeah. It's there's so many aspects and angles to it, isn't there? Like, absolutely tons. So,
and what about you? What's your favorite bits about it? What do you find?
All of the above. I love it all. I think the after parties are such a good time to network, not just with accountants, but with the software providers. Like, a lot of my opportunities to beta test softwares have come off the back of a pint at an after party. And we've got a very strong, you know, people always ask me, how do you create such strong working relationships with your software providers? And it normally is because I've spent time in a non-formal position, as it were, where I'm not stood at a stand or anything, where it is a bit more, okay, the sales pitch is gone. Let's talk properly and directly over a pint.
Warts and all as well at that point, isn't it?
Exactly. You know, and that's where a lot of our software relationships have come from. So I know a lot of people go to these events and then disappear thinking, oh, it's just a party, but actually that's where a lot of the value is. Accounting Web Live Expo, there's a lot of software providers on there that I've not met before, and I'm looking forward to going and seeing those. Whereas you go to some of these conferences and it's all a bit, they're back again, and that's great, and you can continue building your relationship there. But seeing new people there is always fantastic. And yeah, you just don't know what you're going to walk away with other than a bag full of swag, which is obviously a huge benefit. You know, you don't get a wonderful shelving unit like this full of swag without going to these conferences. So I normally pack very light, even though I've got a big suitcase and plenty of space for my swag from day 1 and 2. And review what I've got on day 1, work out what I've missed out on, and go and try and pick it up on day 2. But yeah, it's a great event for networking, developing your business, growing forwards, new ideas. Yeah, I absolutely love these things. And as you say, I'm working at this one. The QuickBooks team, having had me at the small business event a couple of weeks ago, the next day after the event, they're finished, invited me to come and stand on their stand for 2 days at Accounting Web Live, and basically talk to partners and talk to accountants and bookkeepers about how I use their software in-house and how we implement it on a day-to-day basis. They've realized that actually, yeah, your sales team and your tech team, they can talk to you until they're blue in the face about all these features, but actually implementing it and how do you actually use this? Or I've got this problem, how do I fix it? And they found that really valuable. I absolutely love doing it. So I will be stood on the QuickBooks stand as the Ask the Expert type role for 2 days. So if anyone wants to come along and see me, that'd be great. It was an absolute pleasure at the Great Business Show to have people come up and, oh, you're Johann. I listen to your podcasts, or I follow you on LinkedIn. Really like your posts. Like, that's quite a bit of a buzz, shall we say? Minor celebrity. We're all a celebrity, even if it's only to 2 or 3 people. That'll do me. But yeah, it's normally a really good 2 days with lots and lots of benefits, not just being sold to, but actually networking with accountants and software providers and walking away with ideas of how to implement them onto your firm. So
yeah. So what I've learned from there is this year you're going to need people to be out on the show floor getting you the swag. So if anyone out there's listening and they could pick up 2 of each swag, that'd be great. And
that'd
then just
brilliant.
deposit the QuickBooks stand later in the day.
Yeah.
Before going forward, we should really and talk about the fact we've got some people talking in the chat.
We've got comments.
We have. Ashley, great to see you, Ashley. And we are loving your live show each and every Wednesday, isn't it? It's Wednesday. He'll have to tell us in the thing. But he does a live show at 12 o'clock.
The 15-minute guy.
Yes, absolutely love that. Paul's with us again. Hello, Paul. How's it going? And we've got some questions and comments as well. So Ashley mentions the fact that commentary makes perfect sense to get everyone there. Nice, it's not London centric, and I guess the hotels will be cheaper. Well, they're definitely cheaper, but they're I don't know if I'm completely missing out here, but I couldn't find any hotels around the actual area that was available, so I left it too late. So mine's a little bit out of the way, but you're right, it's definitely cheaper, a lot cheaper. And also we get a free breakfast as well, which you don't get through the London centric ones. Sarah, good morning from Midlands. Commentary, great location for me. Excited to go to my first Accounting Web Expo thingy. Well, Sarah, you're going to be having a great time there. If you do see us, make sure you say hello. Don't be shy. The best thing to do there is just find someone to wander around with and talk to the vendors with and everything else. I promise you'll get the most out of it. Having worked for software vendors, I love the after show parties because it's a great chance for us to really understand what accountants and bookkeepers want from the software and the relationship. That's what Ashley says, and he's absolutely right. How many times have we mentioned something during one of those after shows, and a couple of months later that feature's actually arrived within the software? It is the right time to do it because it is that opportunity for us to talk about it, like I said, warts and all. The software development teams are doing it in a bubble majority of the time. They rely on people like ourselves and the rest of the community to give that feedback, to go, you know what, we love what you're doing here, and we support what you're doing, but this isn't quite working for me, or this makes my life more difficult, or have you considered doing this because we've seen someone else doing it and they're doing it really well. And it just builds it. And we're in a privileged position in the accounting industry where all of these different software providers are fighting against one another to, improve and everything else. And it's just pushing the whole industry forward. Imagine what QuickBooks or Xero would have been without QuickBooks or Xero. They would have just sat there and stagnated. They need those opportunities to push. So Paul also mentions the fact that many of them are free to attend as well, which is exactly right. There's only a very few now where we've got to actually pay for, isn't it?
I think it's literally the QuickBooks Connect and Xerocon that are the paid for ones that I can think of. But they don't have the vast array of exhibitors that these free events do. So, yeah, they charge for a more niched market, niched experience, I suppose. So,
yeah, and that's, you can kind of understand why. But yeah, these ones are completely free, so make sure you attend, and the after parties always attend. One of the things, just to I don't think it's for this one, but just keep an eye out on vendors for after parties, because most of the time they're kind of connected to a wristband or a sign up or something. But yeah, keep your ear to the ground and you'll always find
they
out
want your email address.
They do. Yeah. Iris have been emailing me a lot since the last time I went there, but oh, speaking of which, hi Bev, how's it going? Oh, she's getting FOMO for the event. She won't be there this week. And then just quickly, Ashley says that yes, every 15 minutes for accountants and bookkeepers, and it's on a Wednesday. But unfortunately, he's going to be missing the accounting web event, so that's a shame. Ashley, would have loved to have seen you there. So yeah, it looks like it's going to be quite a jam-packed one. Like you said, this time there were some vendors there that you're kind of looking forward to. Do you want to kind of peek behind the curtains, or any kind of one? Do you want to have a shout out that you want to talk about, or find out what they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to see the usual suspects there and see what they're doing.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of names on there that I've never heard of before, I've not seen before, so I've heard rumors of. So FYI Docs, I've been hearing mumblings about them recently. So it would be great to be able to try and get away and go and see them and see what they're all about. Hammock are there. Hammock are always a great team to go and visit.
I recommend.
Definitely worth a chat with them. I'm hearing lots and lots of positive stuff about Libio, so I might go and see them. But yeah, there's always lots of things there that make you think could be worth going to visit. So yeah, exciting list. If you've not seen it and you're going, then check out the exhibitors tab on the Accounting Web Live Expo page. They're all there, and it just helps you to plan your day a bit. Now, I've given up planning my day at these things because I mean, this time obviously I'm stood on a stand up for 2 days, but I used to go through all the exhibitors, highlight the ones I want to see, work out when they're speaking and who I need to go see first. Then I'd go and highlight all the softwares I wanted to go and see, and it just never worked out. I can't remember the last show where I went and sat. And oh no, I do remember. So the last time I went and actually sat and watched a speaker at one of these shows was at Accountex. I went to watch Nick Williams's session for QuickBooks about MTD and the modern firm.
Yeah.
But before that, I cannot remember the last time I sat and went and watched these sessions, speaking sessions. However, at Accountex North, I took one of my colleagues who sat at half a dozen different sessions and came away thinking they're all fantastic and lots of ideas and inspiration. So just because it's not for me, and I've probably heard it a million times over, doesn't mean that they're not good sessions. It's just finding what's right for each individual. So yeah, definitely go in, have a look at the program, have a look at the exhibitors, work out who you want to speak to. Otherwise, you will just speak to loads of people and get nowhere. So go with a focus. What do I want to improve? You could turn around and say, well, actually, I want to improve my document capturing software process. So go and talk to Dex, go and talk to Auto Entry, make sure they're your key focus. I want to decide what software I'm going to use for landlords MTD. Go talk to QuickBooks, go talk to Free Agent, go talk to Sage and Xero and Hammock and work out what solution is going to work for your clients best. And just have that core focus, I think, is always a really important thing to do. And then anything on top of that's just a bonus, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like, they are overwhelming. Like the first Accountex I ever went to, like, the building is so big. There's so much going on. There's so many people walking around. You're right. You get completely lost. But I think this show, not so much. I think this show is very much a more focused show, which is good. And maybe won't have quite the footfall that places like Accountex will have, which again is going to be a good thing, because then it gives you the opportunity to really go to the leaders of the industry and talk to them and have a proper chat. I mean, we've not mentioned yet Cresco. Like, we're huge fans of Cresco,
Yep.
and that they are definitely a stand to go and have a look at and talk to, because you'll be surprised at how that can help. And their whole premise and the whole benefit is about helping you help your clients. Yeah, you might be able to get some benefit for you in your practice in terms of how you receive payments going forward, but it also gives you that conversation about how you can help your clients and gives you those extra tools to help maybe win a new client or at least improve a relationship with them. So that's where we find those major benefits. And I hadn't heard of Cresco before I went to one of these events, and then suddenly, they become an important part of my arsenal in terms of talking to clients and bringing that conversation in.
I'm fairly sure that was a after party introduction, wasn't it?
It certainly was. Exactly right. Yeah.
So,
and without that, I'd just still be saying, oh, you've got this thing called PayPal and this thing called Stripe, and clients would be not seeing the benefit of what else is out there. And I think that's where it becomes really important. It's upsetting that people like accountancy managers not there, but that's up to them, isn't it? They're not going to be there, but normally those are the sort of people I would push people towards as well. And there'll be other vendors out there, and we'll see that, and maybe one day we might even have a client engager possibly on there.
Maybe. There's a lot of money to go to these events, so you need to be confident you've got the product where it needs to be to go. And I have seen people go to these events too early and stumble. So yeah, it's an expensive way to test your audience and your features and stuff. But yeah, it's a fantastic event. It's also a really good reminder when you go through the exhibitors list of who owns what now. So like you've got Fathom, an Access company. You've got Futurely by Sage. You've got Auto Entry by Sage. Everyone's starting to tag their who owns them onto their logos now, which is always very interesting to remind you as who's brought who recently. So yeah, brilliant. Okay. So Accounting Web Live, definitely the place to be this week. Aaron and I will be there. Aaron's wandering. I will be on the QuickBooks stand answering all manner of questions. And yeah, just plan your day ahead. Come and see us if you want to come and see us. It would be great to see people and have a chat. And just stay hydrated while you're there. Like, you will not believe how quickly you run out of hydration in these things. So the QuickBooks team were a bit baffled by the fact that I didn't go for lunch. I'm normally a 2-meal person, so I normally have lunch and dinner. But for these conferences, I have a huge breakfast at the hotel. Then that's me good until dinner time, because that's an efficient way to use your time in my mind. But yeah, you're going to be talking to a lot of people. You're going to be stood around and walking a lot. Even if your stepometer doesn't quite clock all those steps, you're going to be on your feet all day. So even if you don't drink, there's the conference hangover, which is just sore legs and a sore throat because you've been talking so much and stood around so much. So that is a silver lining of going to the sessions, is normally you can sit down, although there's quite a lot of sessions that I've seen are standing room only normally by the time the session starts. So getting in early is always a bonus if you want a seat for 15-20 minutes so you can actually rest your legs. But yeah, so what else have we got to talk about, Aaron?
Well, one of the main focuses on Accounting Web, and something that I would definitely think is going to be relevant for us accountants and for clients as well, because I think clients need to have that reassurance that accountants are going to know what they're talking about, and it's all going to be down to MTD. So what I do like about this one is they're saying that this is a conference by accountants for accountants, and that's the kind of the tagline that they're pushing for, and I think that's definitely a good thing. And what I'm hoping, and I know that some vendors are definitely going to be there, and I can't say which, NDAs and everything else, but I know that there are going to be a bigger focus this time around, and hopefully to see for more, is the fact that MTD for accountants, and what can the vendors do to help us actually help it. And it's a good time to do it, I think, because I know we had our little rant way back when in one of the first episodes we did about how the software vendors aren't helping us enough as accountants, and then suddenly some changes are happening, which is good to see. And then it's but we need that reassurance. So I think during the event, one of the things that I'd highly recommend people to keep an eye out and look at, especially when it comes to the talking opportunities and having those time to sit down and have those either with the vendors themselves or during some of the talks the vendors will be having, is let's make sure that people are being heard about the fact that us accountants, we need to be helped with the MTD side of things. And I think the industry's listening. I can definitely see some vendors doing that. And I think as what we need to do then is to listen to them and the more people who are listening and get the feedback and everything else, the better it's going to be. So now I'm really, really looking forward to that. There's going to be the vendors themselves. So you've got your bookkeeping solutions are going to provide solutions to help us. You've got your accounting practice management solutions that can help us. And then, your accounts production software and everything else can have some solutions as well. So it's going to be important. We've not got long until MTD is fully live and ready to go. So I think that's definitely going to be something to look forward to. I finally got my my approval come through to actually become an MTD submitter. So I'm looking forward to documenting that as much as I'm allowed to. So do keep an eye out on socials and stuff, because I think the more we see the process, the more we see the warts and all, again, using that same phrase, third time's charm. But the more we see those sort of process, I think the better we're going to be on it. So yeah, MTD is going to be a big focus. And I was critical of some of the other webinar or some of the other expos being all MTD focused, and that's all they talk about. But I'm happy now that there's a bit of a shift, or at least there seems to be a shift on, okay, MTD is going to be MTD. It's going to, all the software is going to submit it one way or another. But then what can they do to help us actually deliver that service for clients? And I think that's going to be something important to keep an eye on.
Definitely. Right. So we've just got Sarah saying she's booked into so many sessions already. So that is a benefit of Accounting Web Live, is you can book into your sessions early before arriving, which is great. So she's going to be an orange blur running around. So if anyone sees an orange blur, that's Sarah. And Mark says, it's been a great listen. Unfortunately, I've got a meeting to dash to at 9 a.m. The Monday 9 a.m. meeting. Never a fun one. But yeah, thank you, Mark, for listening for the first half hour. Looking at the program, it's quite a well-balanced one. There's quite a lot of different areas of expertise. There is some focus in the form of MTD, yes, but actually I think we've now got, it's less hypothetical now. All the big players have got their solutions kind of being shown in videos and stuff, and I think they're showing the simplicity that is going to come with it. Now we need to work out how we're going to implement it in practice and what our processes are going to be. So yeah, I would imagine this time next year it will be lots of accountants saying, well, this is how we're dealing with it in the firm, which would be good.
I can't remember what time they're doing it, but I know there was a in fact, I found it here. Supplier Theatre 1 at 10:45. You got Sage's Chris Downing and Samantha Mitchum as well doing a whole session on how to plan for it now. So that is definitely one I earmarked from day one. I thought would be definitely useful, especially when you think that Sage are going to be one of those good examples of they've got a whole ecosystem there and then. So even if you're not using Sage itself, at least have a look at what the ecosystem can do to help you. The proposal, what software to use, what practice management solution to use, that sort of thing. And that what that should do is if you listen to those guys and listen to what they've got there, that should give you some insights that even if you're not using Sage itself, then you should be able to find an equivalent of whatever solution you're using. So, let the people like that just kind of give you some guidance of how they're going to be doing it. And I know Samantha herself, I know she's really hot on processes and getting things all automated. So she's going to be the right person to listen to.
Yeah. And a lot of people will turn their nose up at something like that because it's Sage or it's QuickBooks or it's Zero Person. But actually, if you go in and you listen to what they're doing and you just replace those keywords of, she might be using Accountancy Manager. Well, let's replace that with Client Engager or another practice management solution out there. She might be using Sage. Well, let's replace that with QuickBooks, Zero, Numisma, KPM, whatever tool you're using. Take those learnings and processes that they're doing and see if you can supplement your tools in for their tools and maintain the same processes. So yeah, it's definitely worthwhile going to these things, even though they are sponsored and they will be plugging their own softwares, and that's fine. But when you scrape off the software badge, the information they're giving you is still really, really important.
Yeah.
So go in open-minded.
Because it's the pain points, isn't it? And that's what we're trying to figure out. And I think one of the things that I learned again about why I rave about these so much, about these sort of events, and make sure people go to them is, you know, it can be quite a lonely world, especially being a practice manager, and you kind of feel like, oh, I'm the only one who's having these problems, I'm the only one having those problems. And it could be anything from not getting that proposal out right, or not having an easy way to send proposals out to clients, you know. But when you start having those conversations and understanding you're not the only one with those pain points, well, that's when solutions come through. That's why client engage has been so useful for you, and been such a benefit for you, because they listen to the fact that, you know, the proposal side was where your pain points have been for the last X amount of months, years, whatever it's going to be. But now suddenly you're working with them, and you know, and you've got that relationship with them, and you've got the opportunity to solve a big pain point that you've got. And again, that only happened because you were talking at these events and you had the opportunity to do that. And it's a great example, isn't it?
Definitely. And these events are so good for networking. Like, you know, you and I talk about what we each use and how we each do different processes. I talk to Andy Wainwright at Wainwrights & Co. quite a lot about that kind of thing. I've got a growing network of people that are similarly minded, and we've all been doing different things different ways. And it's so good to be able to rely on falling back onto them in the form of a WhatsApp or a phone call or a Zoom call, and just saying, well, I've got this headache. How are you dealing with that? You know, I spoke to a few people recently about practice management softwares and what their pain points were and what mine were. And there's a lot of common ground there. And just because we're talking to them doesn't mean we're giving away our secrets. There's a lot of accountants won't talk to each other because they're worried about giving away their secrets. But we're all in the same boat here. We're all going to do things slightly differently. We're not going to lose all of our clients overnight just because we spoke to one another about how we do something. That's not how this works. So, and if you're worried that is how it will work with someone, then just don't speak to that person. But there's people out there you can talk to and build a relationship with and trust and work with closely for your own benefit and theirs.
Yeah, and even though, like we said, so we're all in the same boat, or those boats can be different, can't they? And that's the beauty of our industry. Like, you know, we can talk to other accountants because very rarely do we ever overlap in terms of clients or looking at. I mean, me and you doing this podcast, you know, from the outside in seems ridiculous. Like two accountants talking to the same people and the same everything else, but you know, at the end of the day, we both know that there's more than enough out there, and there's more than enough other opportunities to kind of go out there as well. So I really do think that for me, I think it's like it's an eye opener, and it is that, especially when you're first starting your practice, or if if you're a client who's looking to get an accountant or anything, these sort of places are brilliant for them, and an opportunity. Like, I'm so jealous of the fact you were at a business show, because the amount of clients that would have been had such benefit from actually having a person like yourself being there, you know, maybe, you know, not doing the hard sell to them, not saying you must come and join our practice to get some information, but going, you know what, there's probably a better way from what you're doing, even if it's something as simple as that they don't know what EPOS solution to use or whatever it's going to be. Actually having someone who's dealt with X amount of clients, who's got X amount of options, can go, you know what, we've got these clients and they're loving this EPOS solution, but we've got these clients who don't love this one. But then in your industry, you might actually prefer that solution. And that sort of information that we hold and we have, and because just by talking to our own clients, I think is invaluable. So yeah, it is. I think going forward, I think that they're learning really the kind of vendors and everything, what to bring to these events. They're going to benefit going forward. I think that's really exciting as well.
Definitely, completely agree. That's there's so much collaboration and networking and opportunities that come off all the back of all these things. But we have some sad news today, unfortunately. So back in July 2021, the first accounting conference that actually happened after COVID was hit the country was the Digital Accountancy Conference over in Tottenham, which was it was a small event, but a very interesting one, because it brought out it was a lot more affordable. So a lot of new startups were there, software-wise. And one of those softwares that I met there, including, so I met Cresco for the first time there, and
Yep.
that's fantastic. I met AirPar there. I met Timworks there. But one of them was Connect4, a meeting platform. Basically, they were trying to take Zoom and Teams and make it more of a structured meeting. So each client would have their own little meeting space, and you'd have agendas that you could send out before the meeting to make it more efficient. Then you'd have your meeting on video through their platform, make your notes as you go, keep your minutes as you go, end the meeting with scheduling a new meeting, and send out the minutes and stuff and your actions. Unfortunately, last week, Connect4 has announced that they are closing down. I think they've really just struggled to get the market penetration they were looking for. There was a lot of early adopters that have embraced it fully. So they were using it internally and externally with their clients, and they were seeing huge benefits. We've used it myself. We use it internally day to day. We've started using it with clients, but we're now going to have to obviously move away. So they announced last week via a email from the owner or the CEO to the firm owners that were using it, and then they've put out a blog over the weekend explaining it in more detail, basically. So ultimately, the platform is closing down. You won't be able to access it from the 23rd of December. So they've given us a month's notice of it, the impending change. And they've been quite open and honest in this blog about what went wrong and how they've struggled. And basically, what sums up is they struggled with accounting firms not necessarily getting the pain point. So the ones that were on there were loving it, but to get more buy-in was a real challenge. They've realized that spending money on the video software side of things was a bit of a challenge. So with their small team, so they looked to embrace the Zoom and Teams part and just give the functionality of meeting spaces through that. But they were still struggling. And then they realized that they need to speak to more powerfully to softwares like Carbon, Accountancy Manager and stuff. But again, they still haven't had a huge uptake. I often think practice management softwares are a bit of a closed house to other integrations. They don't like it. I think that's potentially where they struggle to get some buy-in. But yeah, it's a bit sad to see what was a good idea and a good solution having to close the doors. But it does show the challenges in the software market. Is our industry is flooded with softwares. And although I've not seen another meeting app like Connect4, they had to overcome what is a very competitive and challenging pricing model from Zoom and Teams. And if Teams or Zoom want to launch meeting minutes or agendas, they could probably do it overnight at little cost. Whereas for Connect4 to launch a new feature, it was a huge investment for them. But it also shows the challenges for early adopters such as ourselves, Aaron, of we take on these softwares, we embrace them, we put them into our practices and roll them out at a risk. And the risk is that they will fail and they will struggle. And in this case, there's a lot of firms out there that had fully integrated Connect4 into both internal and external processes that are now going to have to review that process and change it. And that's a pain point to have with your client again of, oh, actually, we've stopped using Connect4. It closed down. Whatever you're going to say to them, can you use Teams or can we use Zoom? So yeah, it's just a bit disappointing. It's a bit of a headache for us having to change again. But yeah, what are your thoughts, Aaron?
Yeah, first of all, it's absolutely gutting. I know you've been the one who's brought me or showed me or talked to me about Connect4, and yeah, you kind of showed me all the pain points I didn't realize were pain points. And it's, they've always been one of those ones that I have had on my to-do list and never got around to it. And that's their major pain point was for them was accountants, like you said, buying in. Even for me, who knew there was a pain point, it was still always one of those ones where, I'll get around to that. I'll do that at some point. And obviously now, too late.
There were bigger pain points to deal with.
Unfortunately, yeah. And, I mean, for me, it's always Microsoft Notes. I can go through my iPad now and it's just pages and pages and pages and pages of Microsoft Notes. And, for me to then find that meeting that I had with a client, I've got to search for it. Maybe I searched the wrong one. Maybe I bring up an old note that I shouldn't have brought up. And, it is a pain point that's worthwhile looking at some point and worthwhile investigating. And Connect4 really had all those answers and solutions for you. It was a really nice solution for what I can tell. But it's just so frustrating that the time's up for them so soon. I think a couple more of these sort of events and stuff where they had the chance for people like us talking about them, and maybe we'd be able to kind of help them at least, keep going. But unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. And you're right, it is the case then where we need to do better as an industry. We need to find these ones that are absolutely brilliant in what they do, and we need to support them, and we need to keep doing it, because like you said, Teams and Zoom, they don't really need to innovate or change or anything else. They've got a rock solid solution that most people have bought into, especially Zoom. It's become the standard, hasn't it? You Zoom people these days, even if you're using Teams, you're still Zooming them, aren't you? It's that sort of mentality. They don't need to do anything now. They've won their little war. They don't need to innovate if they don't want to. But I do feel like we've got to find the next Connect4, whoever that is, and we've got to champion them as much as we possibly can, because it's a ruthless world out there, isn't it? So
definitely.
Yeah,
the challenge of talking to Zoom or Teams is they're a faceless organization. Whereas if you've got feedback and you're working with a small software provider like Connect4, like Andrew Jordan and Rory, who are the two guys that were really the face of this company and heading it up, as it were, they were very good at taking on feedback and very good at implementing changes based on that feedback. As accountants, we're never going to have that traction with Zoom or Teams. So we either accept what they're offering is there and build it in, or you look for a smaller provider like Connect4. There is a risk that they may not survive and be there forever, but at least what they're building at the time is right for you and your firm because they're listening to you. So, it's a challenge.
And speaking of feedback, if you do have any feedback for this show, then I've just dropped it into the comment section there. So, that we all live on feedback, even this show itself. So, if we've said something that's not quite right, or if you've got something you want to bring in to the conversation, then please do use the feedback or use the questions to get us there. Just like Paul says, there is also the issue of too many softwares making our overheads too large to keep our prices competitive. Agree with that, Paul. I think we've just got to be accepting of that. We're a serviced industry at the end of the day. We employ people, and people are always going to be our most expensive commodity that we're always going to do as an accounting firm. So our prices have got to incorporate the people cost and the software cost. And if we don't have the right software to deliver the right service, then we'll be dead in the water, because at the end of the day, we're going through a big change as accountants, aren't we? We're going to come from less a compliance, more business advisory. That's something that's been said a long time, and will continue to be said until the cows go home, sort of idea. But we do need to keep ourselves competitive, and the right software is how you keep competitive in this day and age. And unfortunately, we've just got to find a way to accept it and price accordingly, haven't we?
No, and as accountants and bookkeepers, we're not always great at weighing up an investment and finding a return on investment if it's not in pounds and pence instantly. So yes, Connect4 had a cost to it. However, the time saved internally in my team by having agendas, which meant we kept on point, so the meetings were shorter, the value to our clients, they're all returns on investments, but they're not easy to quantify. So I'm convinced we saved a lot of time in our meetings for using Connect4 because we had an agenda, we stuck to it, we kept going. And that time saving meant we had more time to spend on our clients, which meant we could also grow our client base without taking on new staff members. But to try and quantify that is a real challenge and put into pounds and pence. And accountants and bookkeepers traditionally like, if I spend £90 here, what do I get back here? And if it's not obvious, most people won't invest in it. So, we use Dext for our receipt capture. And I know 63% of our documents that go into Dext are auto-published. So that's nearly 3,000 documents a month that my team aren't handling or dealing with in any form. So that results in one, if not two, admin roles that I don't need to recruit for. So the Dext cost is high, but actually compared to doing it manually, it's an absolute bargain. And when I speak to accountants and bookkeepers about Dext, or auto entry or HubDoc, whatever your solution you're using, they don't always equate the time saving equals a wage saving equals return on investment. They just don't get that. So yes, our overheads are increasing because of new softwares, but there's always a business case for it. And if you genuinely can't find one, then you probably don't need it. But yeah, Connect 4 certainly saved us a lot of time internally alone on our internal meetings. Meetings that used to take an hour, we're taking half of that. We got through it. We were precise because we had our agendas and stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, we're going to take those learnings and put them into Zoom and Teams or whatever we use, but we needed Connect 4 to teach us that in the first place.
Yeah.
So yeah, we need, as an industry, we need to be better understanding a return on investment in a non-tangible way sometimes, to understand the value of softwares and overheads bring to us.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And we've got to be more, and that's what these events that we're going to, like Accounting Web Live Expo. Yes, those vendors are there to be around for the next expo more often than not. So they're going to have to charge for their services. But you need to not only, as I said before, it's not only to listen to the vendors and understand what the vendors are putting forward to you, but talk to the likes of us or other accountants in the industry and find people who can kind of tell you what the value is. Like Johann just said there about Dext. Dext is a hard sell to a lot of accountants still, and to me that's crazy. I don't understand how that is. So you use OCR technology, so no one actually has to physically type the numbers in. For a lot of accounting firms, that's still not, still crazy and still a complete and utter fantasy world sort of idea, but it's there and it's being utilized, and it's making practices much more efficient than they've ever been before. But if it's not until people have those conversations with people that they go, oh, okay, that's what it is. And OCR technology and the ability to scan documents and get them into your accountancy solution is now, or should be now, just common to every single accounting firm in the country. It shouldn't be an issue, but we still got to educate and push it forward. And if that's still a pain point that people don't even know is a pain point and don't even know the solution, then there's going to be lots and lots and lots of other ones out there. So yeah. And also selfishly for us as the accountant as well, we want to be making sure that we have these conversations with them and push them out to you for more content as well. So we'll be doing our best to get as much of these vendors as we can during the event and getting them on the we have Cool Friends subreddit as well.
Definitely.
Awesome. Shall we move on to our questions then? I think we've only got two, haven't we?
I think we should.
That we want to bring in. So the first question we had, it was a while ago actually, but for some reason we just kept missing it. It says, Stream Decks, would love to hear more about your complex macros. So I'm going to be a bit of a what do you call it here. So for anyone who doesn't know, Stream Deck, can I show it on screen? I don't think I can. Just about there it is. Yeah, that's, people can hopefully see that. But effectively, we are. It just shows up. Yeah, show off. It's not about the size of your Stream Deck, it's how you use it, Johann. That's how you got to
story of my life.
Got to bring it in. But yeah, the whole idea of Stream Decks is basically it's an opportunity for you to press a button and it will do something, and you can decide what that do action is going to be, and you can set it up accordingly. Now, I'm going to be really cheeky here and say that actually I've got a whole video based on not just Stream Decks but other accessories and that's going to be released on Tuesday. So keep your eye out on that one. And then final question of the day, Jan, and we're going to push it straight to you. Have you put up your Christmas decorations yet? Do you run your work Xmas do on December, January, or after 31st of January? And do you run a Secret Santa at your work event? So a nice little Christmas end to the thing. And I did notice before we go on to it, a nice little Christmas decoration you got over there. Is that anything?
Yeah.
Anything to do with Ask the Accountant at all?
It is a Ask the Accountant stocking with my name on it. Aaron, you've got one behind you.
Yeah. Hoping Santa leaves me something nice in there this year.
I'll be lucky. Can't even leave coal now. It costs too much. So Christmas decorations in my household are up. My wife's not a huge Christmas person. But to be fair, I wasn't for a long time. But my mum was always very passionate about Christmas. So we tend to put our Christmas decorations up a bit earlier in tribute to her, who she passed away a couple of years ago. So it's just nice to have a reminder of her and her enthusiasm for the festivities for a longer period, basically. But plus, we had a lot of things going on over the next few weeks. So it's like, when can we get the Christmas decorations up? If we didn't do it now, probably wouldn't have got it done until the week before Christmas. So yeah, our Christmas decorations are up. In regards to a work party, because our team is dotted literally all over the UK, we don't do a work party as such, because trying to organise people all into one place to do something is just a nightmare, because people have got families, they've got other commitments. So we don't do a Christmas party. We instead give everyone an extra few days off over the Christmas period on us. So it's bonus on top of their holiday allowance. So they don't take holiday time during the Christmas New Year break, instead of having a Christmas party, so people can go and enjoy themselves how they like. And we also don't run Secret Santa because A, we're spread all over the UK, but B, I hate organised fun. Like in my old career, as soon as someone said, right, we're going to run a Secret Santa, you would never see me shoot out of an office that quickly in your life. And as soon as they say it's Christmas, they're doing a Christmas party, it's like, I'll find every excuse not to have to go. I absolutely dread organised fun. I just don't think there's anything more painful in the world than organised fun. And it's probably why I could never be in a sales team, because it's all about organised fun. Team building days and stuff. It's like, no, not for me. And because it's not for me, I just don't generally put it in place in the workplace. But I don't think people around me would want it either. So, and that was certainly the feedback I got a few years ago. But
unless it's throwing axes, you enjoyed that, though, didn't you?
Axe throwing, is that organised fun?
Oh, I mean, when else would you throw an axe?
Well, this is true. I mean, I am in Scotland, so different culture up here. But yeah, axe throwing is an informal organised fun, I suppose. When I say organised fun, I mean like you are going to go to this event and you're going to have fun, and it's a bit cringy type things like Secret Santa. So yeah, it's not my cup of tea. What about you, Aaron?
Well, Christmas decorations aren't up yet. I'm even in, I wouldn't say argument, but we're in discussions at the moment about when we're putting the tree up. A bit of a heated debate of when that's going to happen. But yeah, we will make sure it's all done and dusted. It's just time, isn't it? Like, we've got so much going on at the moment that when do you find the right time for it and get it all sorted? So yeah, we'll make sure that gets sorted. So no Christmas decorations yet, but it isn't lack of trying, especially from the other half. Do you run your work Christmas do in December, January, or 31st? Well, we had ours Christmas do. It's a loose way of saying it. But we had ours last Friday. So instead of a Christmas do, we try and do a strategic day. So we try and get the whole team, like yourself. We've got team members all over the UK. So we try and find a central or at least a location. Doesn't always have to be central. There's question marks over Edinburgh being one of the locations one year. So yeah. But the idea would be that we all get together. We talk about what's gone right, what's got wrong, that sort of idea in the practice, and what we can do to help and what we can do to improve it. And also then we try and do some organized fun, as you put it. But we went for the escape rooms idea this time around. And 2 teams, we went off into 2 different teams and tried to make it a competition. So, we both did the same one, and then we swapped and did the different one. And then the idea is which team was able to complete both of those in a different scenario. And highly recommend it. That went down really well. There was some groans when we first mentioned that's what we were doing. But yeah, the whole team kind of really enjoyed it and really got on with it. When it comes to Secret Santa, thankfully we don't do it anymore, because it was we were talking about it during the strategic day of kind of past Christmas endeavors and everything else, and yeah, there was more HR issues that came out of Secret Santa than it was worthwhile. So there's obviously we all want to have fun and enjoy it, but sometimes people may take it a little bit too far. So yeah, we do try and we don't do it anymore, purely just because of the fact that we have the geographical issue. But yeah, we when we did do it, was a lot of fun, I'd say. But yeah, there was some HR issues that I'm glad I don't have to deal with anymore. So yeah, call me a Scrooge, but yeah, I think I prefer to be called a Scrooge than have HR issues. So that is the way it is. Okay, and I think that's everything, isn't it? We've put the question or the comment section. We've put have a question, use the link. But if you do have any other questions for us, then please use whatever form you're using to listen to us, be a podcast service of your choice, or YouTube, LinkedIn, whatever it's going to be. If you look down below, there's a little link for questions for future videos. So yeah,
and don't forget to review us on Apple iPod stations and wherever you're listening to us from. If there's an option to leave a review, we'd love for you to leave a review, so more people then get to see this content, rightly or wrongly. But yeah, it's we're really enjoying doing these shows, so hopefully you're enjoying listening, and leave us a review to reflect that, and that would be fantastic.
And if you need an icebreaker for the expo, have you heard about Ask the Accountant? Bring it on there. The more people who talk about it, the more referrals you get, the more chance you'll be on the show as well. So that's your plug in this year.
Definitely. So the week ahead, Aaron, what have you got going on?
It's all about Accounting Web Live Expo for me. We've got lots of work to get done beforehand so that I can actually enjoy it and get the time to do it. So yeah, it's just full plow ahead so we can get the work done, because obviously we've got the month end very, very close now. So make sure we got everything done for the month end, and then we'll be concentrating on the live expo itself. What about yourself, Jan?
Yeah, no, I'm in the office today, and then my right hand person Jade, she's back to work on tomorrow morning after a week off. So I've basically been covering her role for the last week. So she's back tomorrow. So that means I can be on a train. I'll debrief her while I'm on the train on the phone. And then that's me focused on Accounting Web Live for a couple of days, travel back Friday morning, hopefully get back in time for about 4:00 on Friday, just to catch up with the team before they finish for the weekend. Nice. And that'll be it. That'll be another week gone. I'm not really sure where that is, but and then we'll be back next Monday to discuss all things Accounting Web Live, see who had the best swag. We'll definitely review some swag for you all, and find out what we find out in the after parties, where the lips become a little bit looser and you find out about the roadmaps and stuff that perhaps we won't get told if we go to them on the stand in the morning.
And if we get the opportunity, we want to try and get some content out of there as well. We'll leave it at that. Yep. But yeah, if we can make it work, we want to make sure that you guys don't miss out on that as well. So yes, keep your ears peeled.
Is there an update on Ask the Accountant We Have Cool Friends, episode 1?
We're hoping it goes for it goes for review this week and hopefully released on Friday. If it's not this Friday, it'll be the Friday after. So a little December treat for you all will be our first cool friend. As we've already said it. Can't wait for everyone to listen to more about QuickBooks and how QuickBooks is working with our QuickBooks expert that Johann brought to the table. So we're looking forward to that one.
That was a really good interview, and I think hopefully our audience will enjoy that. And if anyone else wants to be one of our cool friends and have a hour-long interview about their career, what they do now, whether they work for a software company or whatever it is, if they think they've got an interesting story, please do drop it into the feedback on the feedback forms, and we will organise a chat. We want to try and make We've Got Cool Friends episodes, the bonus episodes that they are, a bit more professional than just Aaron and I streaming from our offices. So it will be done ideally in a podcast studio solution. But we'll organise that if you just turn up. So yeah, if that's something you want to be involved in, do drop it into the feedback and question link, and we'll take it from there. But that's everything from me, Aaron. I will see you on Wednesday at some point, I'm sure. From what I've seen of the QuickBooks stand, you're not going to miss it. It's huge. So pop on by and say hello to myself. And Aaron might be hanging around at certain points, but he'll be walking around in all his logoed gear. So whether it's a Bofix gilet or a Ask the Accountant t-shirt, he will have the gear for you to be able to find him. And any face-to-face feedback you want to offer, that's really appreciated. So yeah. So from me, that's goodbye.
Yep, and from me, goodbye. Remember, as Johann said, don't be a stranger. If you do see us, just say hi, and we look forward to seeing you during the week.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, guys.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.